Welcome everyone to Podcast 69 South, where we cuss and discuss true crime, cold cases, current events, and hot topics, along with our state of society today. This is your trigger warning. Our podcast content is produced for adult listeners 18 years of age and older. We discuss situations that may be offensive and triggering to some listeners. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Welcome back to 69 South, everybody. I am Chop, your host, and sitting co-pilot. It's my beautiful co-host, Julie. How are you today?
Freezing.
It's a little bit chilly in the studio, I have to say.
So we have a new Patreon member, and I want to thank Miss Brandy for joining our Patreon. And if you'd like to support our show, go to www.patreon.com/69 South. And are you ready to jump into the third part of this Karen Reed lawsuit?
I am. I'm like hooked into this shit, like really. The indictments, the trials, and the aftermath. Miss Reed was arrested on February 1st, 2022, pursuant to a criminal complaint charging her with manslaughter, among other charges. She was required to post a $50,000 for bail. And the court imposed several other conditions of release, including loss of her driver's license and stay-away orders from the O'Keefe family and John O'Keefe III's home. Miss Reed was later rearrested on June 9th, 2022, after being indicted for second-degree murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. Her bail was set at $100,000 by the Norfolk County Superior Court. In February of 23, her bail was reduced to $80,000 at the defendant's request.
Miss Reed was tried twice by the Commonwealth. The first trial started in April of 2024 and ended on July 1st after the court ordered a mistrial because of a hung jury. On June 18th, 2025, following another nearly 2-month trial, Miss Reed was acquitted of all charges associated with the death of John O'Keefe. Murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident resulting in death. For the first time in 3.5 years, Karen Reed was able to leave court knowing that the forces aligned against her had failed to convince a jury to buy their deception.
Boy, we was glued to this court case.
Oh, I think this is one of the best trials. Both of them, if you had to pick any court trial to watch, it would definitely be these.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting. It was like watching reality TV in reality.
Beginning in January 2022, the defendant's actions have had profound effect on Miss Reed. She lost her employment and income. She lost her job as a professor. I think she was like as needed financial professor at Bentley College. That's a pretty prestigious position, you would think.
You would think so. So obviously she's not a dumb person by any means.
She also lost her private health insurance. She lost her car and her driver's license. She lost her house, her reputation, both personally and professionally, and she was utterly destroyed. She incurred multiple millions of dollars in debt for legal fees and additional millions in expert fees and cost. In addition, after being arrested twice, jailed twice, and tried twice, she has suffered years of intense stress and emotional harm. Worried that she would be in prison for the rest of her natural life for a crime that she did not commit.
I wonder how many times she's thought in her head, boy, freedom sure ain't free. If she'd have been a normal person without the resources she had, she'd have been fucked.
Oh, yeah. Freedom is scary.
Deal with it. I love that, dude. Miss Reed suffers from both Crohn's disease and multiple sclerosis, as documented under seal with the criminal court. Miss Reed has undergone tens of surgeries to manage her illnesses prior to January 29, 2022, and endured a blood transfusion just months before Mr. O'Keefe's death. What exactly is Crohn's disease?
Well, I didn't know either, so I went to go look it up. And Crohn's disease is a chronic inflammation bowel disease that causes your digestive tract to get inflamed, and it most often it's the small and large intestines. Symptoms vary but include abdominal pain, diarrhea, fatigue, fever, and weight loss. The exact cause is unknown, but it's thought to involve an abnormal immune response, genetics, and lifestyle factors. It's managed with a combination of medication and lifestyle adjustments.
That doesn't sound very fun.
I didn't know what multiple sclerosis was either, so I had to look that up. And I think they could kind of be intertwined after I read them. It's a chronic autoimmune disease that damages the myelin sheath protecting nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord, leading to symptoms like vision problems, numbness, weakness, and coordination issues. The damage slows or blocks nerve signals, and while the exact cause is unknown, it involves the immune system mistakenly attacking the body, and there's no cure for this.
She goes through it, boy. Could you imagine all that shit wrong with you, and then the stress of losing your boyfriend and then getting accused of it, and then just all these people lying?
Just having to go through every day for years. I couldn't imagine the stress level. I think that would have drove me crazy, literally.
Me too.
So the defendants concocted a plan, executed the plan, and framed an innocent woman, and they are now responsible for these extraordinary damages Miss Reed has suffered at their hands.
Now, it's MSP investigates and punishes Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully for their misconduct during the investigation. Proctor wrote more than one-third of the police reports in this case, testified at the state grand jury 3 separate times, interviewed every member of the Albert and McCabe families, had possession, at least until March 14, 2022, of all John O'Keefe's clothing and all of the taillight pieces found broken from the housing. Processed Mr. O'Keefe's Chevrolet Traverse the day after Mrs. Reed was arraigned, had access to and reviewed all the ring videos, had access to and reviewed all the surveillance from C.F. McCartney's, had possession of all the CPD Sallyport and driveway videos, and numerous other critical investigative activities. And yet, once evidence of Proctor's conflicts and lies became public, he was removed from this case in an effort to hide him from the jury and sanitize the compromised investigation, while Miss Reed was forced to trial not once, but twice.
Ultimately, Michael Proctor was relieved from duty and transferred out of the detective unit of the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office on July 7, 2024, mere days after the conclusion of Miss Reed's first trial. Proctor was terminated from the Massachusetts State Police on March 19, 2025. Upon a release from the district attorney of more implicating text messages from Proctor's phone on October 18, 2025, Proctor officially ended his appeal with the Civil Service Commission.
On September 23, 24, an MSP Internal Affairs Investigations found Yurley Buchanan failed to perform his supervisory duties in an ongoing investigation. On July 7th, Buchanan was transferred out of the NDAO detective unit and reassigned to administrative role in another division. On October 18th, Brian Tully was disciplined and reassigned from the SBDU and stripped of his detective designation. Tully was given special dispensation by Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey to continue detective work on the Reed case despite his demotion because of his behavior on this case.
Upon information and belief, MSP troopers David DeCiso and Jeffrey Kothwisky, they have all these names.
It's the Northeastern people.
Were also disciplined for their misconduct associated with the MSP's investigation of Miss Reed.
I wonder, since they caught this dude and all this bullshit, if that's affecting other cases that he's been witnesses of or been a part of.
Proctor?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like a domino effect. Last I heard, there was over a dozen cases that were affected because he was the detective or a part of the investigation.
I know if I'd have been convicted on some shit that dude was lying about, and then watching the trial, I'd have been like, I knew that motherfucker was a liar. I tried to tell everybody.
Oh, it's like the house of cards is coming undone.
It's crazy how people of authority like that just blatantly abuse their authority.
It didn't even seem like they were nervous about it. It just seemed like it was routine.
It came so easy for all of them, but now it's coming apart. Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully violated Miss Reed's Fourth Amendment rights by engaging in malicious prosecution of Miss Reed by causing her to be seized pursuant to legal process unsupported by probable cause.
The criminal proceedings against Miss Reed terminated in her favor when she was acquitted of murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident with death. Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully caused Miss Reed to be seized without probable cause, as described above, including but not limited to A, lending, handling, and participating in the O'Keefe investigation, even though Proctor was conflicted due to his personal relationship with various witnesses, suspects, and potential suspect, which conflicts led to Miss Reed's unlawful treatment.
Handling the investigation, even though Proctor had an extreme and personal negative bias towards Karen Reed, which bias led to Miss Reed's unlawful treatment. Violating MSP's rules, policies, and procedures in all aspects of the investigation. Planting, fabricating, and manipulating evidence, falsifying documents, preparing false affidavits, and committing perjury. Failing to secure evidence and the crime scene, obtain evidence, timely and appropriately interview suspects, and investigate the Alberts, McCabe's, or Higgins, and allowing them to destroy potentially exculpatory evidence, like the phones and shit.
Failing to consider and present exculpatory evidence to prosecutors and the grand jury investigating Mr. O'Keefe's death, such as the evident dog bite injuries on Mr. O'Keefe's arm and evidence that his injuries were caused by an altercation and not a vehicle strike, such as the lack of lower body trauma on John O'Keefe. Now, following her indictment by a grand jury, Miss Reed was rearrested without probable cause, forced to pay a $100,000 bond to be released from custody, and required to comply with numerous pretrial release provisions. This post-arraignment deprived her of her liberty, and it constitutes seizures under the Fourth Amendment.
We'll be right back.
What's up, everybody? It's Chop from 69 South. And if you can't get enough of our content and Chop and Julie's bullshit, go to Patreon at
www.patreon.com/69south
and get your daily dose of the Daily Detour. We go through today's crazy news stories and put a little comedy spin on it for a lighter note. It comes out every day, so get your daily dose of the detour. Let us take the blues out of your day and put a little sunshine in your life. Those deprivations continued during Miss Reed's second trial, in part because of Proctor's false testimony at Miss Reed's first trial. Among other things, Proctor falsely testified that, A, when he first saw the taillight on Miss Reed's car at Miss Reed's parents' house in Dighton, it had large pieces missing and the shattered taillight displayed at the first trial as photographed on February 1st of 2022. It was in the same condition as on January 29th. He and Buchanan never touched any part of Miss Reed's vehicle when it was stored in the CPD Sallyport. He retrieved taillight pieces on subsequent searches at the Alberts home when he knew he had deposited or arranged for someone to deposit taillight pieces at the property. Chris and Julie Albert were his loose acquaintances rather than friends, and his statements in sworn affidavit, all claiming the Lexus was seized at 5:30 p.m. and that he arrived in Dighton at 4:30 p.m. were typos.
So,
Oops. Fucking typos. Come on.
typos and butt dials.
Yeah, typos and butt dials.
So Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully, acting under the color of law, violated Miss Reed's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures. As a proximate result of this misconduct, Miss Reed was wrongfully prosecuted for Mr. O'Keefe's death and made to defend herself in 2 trials in the Supreme Court of Norfolk County, resulting in the loss of employment, reputational damages, and millions of dollars of legal expenses, as well as serious emotional and physical distress and injury. In addition to an award of damages for these harms, Miss Reed is entitled to her attorney's fees under the United States law, plus cost, interest, and punitive damages.
That's going to be a healthy bill. So moving on to count 2 of this liability lawsuit, this is the supervisory liability against Buchanan and Tully in their individual capacities. The preceding paragraphs are incorporated hereon by reference. A supervisor is liable under 42 U.S.C. 1983 when the supervisor supervises, trains, or hires a subordinate with deliberate indifference towards the possibility that the subordinate's deficient performance will result in deprivation of an individual's constitutional rights.
That was a mouthful.
You ain't lying. I was struggling to get through it.
Buchanan and Tully knew or should have known that there was a grave risk that Proctor would fail to investigate the Alberts with whom he had a close personal relationship, which he had disclosed. They also knew or should have known that there was a grave risk Proctor would wrongly seek to have Miss Reed charged, given the manifest bias evidenced in his text messages where he sent to Buchanan, among others.
Buchanan and Tully could have taken easily available steps to avoid a constitutional deficient malice prosecution of Miss Reed. Those measures include, but are not limited to, 1. Replacing Proctor with an unbiased investigator that had no personal relationship with anyone involved in Mr. O'Keefe's death. 2. Safeguarding the crime scene and the physical evidence, including Mr. O'Keefe's clothing and 47 pieces of taillight material, to prevent anyone from planting, manufacturing, or manipulating evidence. 3. Initiating timely searches at the Alberts house. And 4. Quickly seizing the cell phones and other forms of electronic devices in evidence in the possession of the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Higgins, which would have prevented their later manipulation and destruction.
She's laying it all out, isn't she?
Yeah, I don't blame her, man.
So by not taking any of those measures, Buchanan and Tully permitted Proctor and Tully permitted Buchanan to violate Miss Reed's Fourth Amendment rights against unreasonable searches and seizures, and thus themselves violated Miss Reed's Fourth Amendment rights. So in these ways, in the lawsuit, it states that Buchanan's conduct was, in plain terms, he saw what Proctor was doing, illegally searching and seizing Karen Reed's phone and property in ways that violated her constitutional rights. And he basically said, yeah, I'll go ahead. I'm okay with that, by turning a blind eye and letting it happen instead of stopping it or reporting it. Buchanan was either approving of the illegal behavior, deliberately ignoring it, or was so extremely negligent that it was basically the same as not caring at all. And then same thing with Tully. He knew both Proctor and Buchanan were breaking the rules and violating Miss Reed's Fourth Amendment rights, and he just went along with it. He either supported what they were doing, quietly allowed it, or was so grossly negligent that he might as well have been helping them. In the eyes of the law, that makes him just as responsible.
Yeah, and there's no way he was oblivious to what was going on. I mean, this isn't just some regular old DUI bullshit. This is the death of a Boston police officer. So you would
With
think
other police officers
in another cop's
involved
yard.
yes, on the front yard. So, I mean, they're basically saying that even though they didn't personally do the illegal searches themselves, they knew it was wrong. They had the power to stop it, and they chose to do nothing. Or, and allegedly sometimes gave their blessings. So that's what she's saying in this part of the lawsuit. And as a proximate result of all this, Miss Reed was wrongfully prosecuted for Mr. O'Keefe's death, resulting in the loss of employment, reputational damages, and millions of dollars in legal expenses with serious emotional and physical distress and injury. So, in addition to an award of damages for these harms, Miss Reed is entitled to her attorney's fees, cost, interest, punitive damages. That's another count for all of that.
That's deep. Count 3 is the conspiracy to deprive Miss Reed of her Fourth Amendment rights also. This is against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Brian Higgins. The preceding paragraphs are incorporated hereon by reference. Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Brian Higgins shared a common design and acted in concert to frame Miss Reed for Mr. O'Keefe's death. As a part of their concerted efforts, and among their many other misrepresentations, the Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgy Bear agreed with each other to tell investigators that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the house, that they did not see Mr. O'Keefe in the house that night, and that Miss Reed made inculpatory statements on the morning of January 29th. I've seen there's a lot of shit online. I mean, you can go on there, and if you look hard enough, you're going to find what you want to see. But a lot of people are like, for all this shit to be true, like all these people had to make up the same lie and coordinate all this shit together. Well, they fucking did. They did do that. It's obvious. It was obvious to me.
I can tell you right where it started. That morning when she called Jennifer McCabe to try and figure out, if she seen John or where he was, because she couldn't find him. And then right there, she's like, "Oh, come over to my house." So she just rolls over to the house. And then I know she called Carrie Roberts, but it wasn't a plan for them to all meet there.
It was weird how one thing that struck me out is, well, let's go back to where you just were and see if he's there. Like maybe you overlooked him. Let's go back to where you just were missing him from.
I thought that could have been to kill time.
That's exactly what it was.
And then, let's go back here, look for a minute, waste some time, and then we'll drive. We'll switch cars, and they, I believe they did they leave her car there and take somebody else's car to go look for John? Yeah, Carrie Roberts was driving her car. So Jen had Karen drive her car back to John's house, leave her car there, while they rode with Carrie over to 34 Fairview.
I got to say, if she would have been convicted in all this and she didn't have the good attorneys that she had, it would have been a pretty good plan for these people. I think that they saw Lucky.
The initial plan was the snowplow hitting.
I'm positive of it. And then bam.
Karen ruined it when she started to go look for him. And then it so happens that, okay, well, we're going to have to find him. And then you got Jen in her ear like, oh, well, do you think a snowplow hit him? And then Karen's thinking, oh my God. She said she was thinking everything.
Yeah,
it was
could
like,
I have hit him? And then bam, I bet the light bulb just fucking went off.
Went
ding,
off,
ding, ding,
and that
ding,
was
ding.
the spark. Her asking a question because she's fucking in shock and frazzled and can't think straight. I mean, I couldn't imagine.
I couldn't either.
That's how it started right there. And then she had the chance to, Jen McCabe, she was the point person talking to everybody first. Everybody first.
She is the crypt keeper.
Yes, she is.
And I wonder if, like, say, I don't know, it's speculation, but what if they hadn't went over there and Karen didn't say that? I just wonder how that would have played out. You know what I mean? Proctor and Buchanan and Tully knew or should have known that the statements made to them by the House defendants were false, and that obvious and easily obtainable evidence existed demonstrating Mr. O'Keefe went into the house where he was involved in a physical altercation during which he was beaten up, fell back, gashing his head, and attacked by a dog. Instead, because of their close personal and professional ties to the defendants, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully agreed with each other to use the House defendants' misrepresentations as the predicate for an implicit direction to conduct an investigation that solely targeted Miss Reed to the exclusion of everyone else and anyone else.
We'll be right back.
Discover Rosie Posey's farm stand at 6082 East Hadley Road in Mooresville, Indiana. Home of the sourdough bagel bombs. Crafted with love, these bagel bombs burst with flavors like Asiago cheese, jalapeno pepper, blueberries and cream, and everything bagel. Their artesian sourdough loaves come in classic, chocolate chip, jalapeno cheddar, and garlic parmesan, just to name a few, and they are pure perfection and the best in the area. If you're craving some sweets, they have homemade cookie sandwiches and cookie dough and s'mores flavors delight. Grab a farm fresh flower bouquet from the iconic pink roadside stand and go follow Rosie Posey's farm stand on Facebook for daily menu items and availability. Visit Rosie Posey's for an unforgettable taste experience at 6082 East Hadley Road. In furtherance of this plan, among other unlawful conduct, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully agreed to continue to handle the investigation even though they had personal relationships with suspects in the murder, which led to unlawful and favorable treatment of potential suspects, to continue to handle the investigation even though they had biases against investigating the House defendants because of the House defendants' ties to law enforcement, to continue to handle the investigation even though they had exhibited an extreme and personal negative bias towards Karen Reed, and to violate rules, policies, and procedures in all aspects of the investigation to paint, manufacture, and manipulate evidence, falsify documents, and commit perjury. To not secure evidence and the crime scene, and to not investigate and obtain available evidence or timely and appropriately interview suspects, and to not investigate the Alberts, McCabe's, or Higgins.
The McCabe's and Alberts coordinated their efforts through text messages, phone calls, and conversations. Higgins and Brian Albert coordinated their efforts through telephone calls and text on their phones, which were later destroyed or discarded. Finally, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully coordinated with the Alberts and McCabe's through Proctor's sister, Courtney, who communicated frequently with Julie Albert. Acting pursuant to the plan, Proctor and Buchanan interviewed the McCabe's and Brian Albert in a cursory manner and all the same locations midday on the 29th of January and Nicole Albert on February 3rd. Proctor and Buchanan only interviewed Higgins once at his attorney's home and did not secure or search his phone or search for communications between him, the Alberts, and the McCabe's. Proctor and Buchanan did not search the Alberts' phones or home where there was likely evidence of Mr. O'Keefe's murder. Brian Albert and Higgins destroyed or discarded their phones, destroying evidence of the murder and cover-up. That's another good question. Why would you just fucking destroy your phone? Literally like the day that you knew that they were going to seize him if there wasn't some shit on there. And if them cops would have went into 34 Fairview that morning, they would have found the evidence that would have just blew the case apart and somebody would have been fucked.
Oh yeah, but I can't even believe it was so nonchalant. Like there's a dead police officer in your yard.
Yeah, and then Brian Albert looks out the window and goes down and makes him a bacon sandwich,
Yeah, not to
probably.
mention he's a Boston cop, a first responder,
Like, come on.
everything. And he didn't even, he says he didn't see or hear nothing. You have all these emergency vehicles outside your bedroom window and you don't see or hear anything.
And you're not gonna you're a cop. You're not gonna go out there and be like, what the hell's going on out here? Oh, there's a dead cop in my yard? What the F? Come on.
Right. And he knew who John O'Keefe was.
Well, yeah, they were just at the bar partying together. Him and Brian Higgins, if you can watch the waterfall bar and the other bar videos, they're playing grab ass and Higgins is trying to show off. They call it peacocking, like they're fucking
That
drunk.
sounds so
Peacocking. You know how a peacock throw his tail feathers up, you know what I mean, to show off for the lady peacocks. That's basically what dude was doing in front of Karen Reed that day. And she wouldn't even look his way. It pissed him off, hurt his pride.
Oh, yeah, it did, especially because, they were in New York and they were coming back from New York. So they were drinking all day on the way back, talking this. And, Higgins was like, oh, yeah, I've been hollering at John O'Keefe's old lady, Karen.
Yeah, I'm trying to smash Reed. They were. I mean, it just, it happened that way. It did.
It did. And they stopped at a couple bars before they even got to the waterfall.
Yeah,
so they were
buzzed.
good and lit.
Good and lit.
So, as a result of the conspiracy between and among them, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully never investigated the House defendants, and instead, Miss Reed was wrongfully arrested and prosecuted in violation of her Fourth Amendment rights. Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, and the House defendants acted in unison and had a peculiar power of coercion over Miss Reed because Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully were the state police employees investigating Mr. O'Keefe's murder, and the House defendants were able to direct that investigation solely towards Miss Reed because of their personal and professional connections to Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully, and their superior knowledge of police and criminal investigations as a result of their own work and connection to law enforcement.
The proximate result of Miss Reed's wrongful prosecution was her loss of employment, reputational damages, again, millions of dollars in legal expenses, serious emotional and physical distress, and injury. In addition to award of damages for these harms, Miss Reed, again, is entitled to her attorney fees. Count 4 of this lawsuit is the Massachusetts Civil Rights Act against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, the Alberts, McCabe's, and Brian Higgins. Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, and the House defendants interfered or attempted to interfere with Miss Reed's exercise or enjoyment of her rights under the federal and Commonwealth constitutions and laws through threats, intimidation, or coercion.
Among other acts, by manufacturing and planting evidence, not securing the crime scene, not searching the Alberts' home or the Alberts and Higgins' phones, and ignoring exculpatory evidence such as the dog bite injuries and lack of injuries consistent with a vehicle strike, Proctor, Buchanan caused Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution, and thereby interfered and attempted to interfere with her rights under the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 14 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights.
The other day, somebody was on the Facebook, the Free Karen Reed thing, and they were like, I was on there arguing with somebody on it, and they were like, well, how do you know? How do you know that she didn't do it? How do you know this? How do you know that? I said, well, I wasn't there, but I have an IQ of over fucking 15, so that's how I know. I mean, clearly the dog bite thing, it just makes you wonder, were they sitting there and then every aspect of the case, they had to come up with another bullshit, crazy thing.
Then they had to come up with, then the people started realizing the dog wasn't there that morning.
Yeah, Chloe is still missing. Chloe, the German Shepherd / police dog who was trained to attack anybody that's fucking with their owner type shit.
Absolutely. That's interesting. I think that we're going to see more evidence about this dog bite from more professionals, because I heard that there was a lot more of the dog bite evidence that they couldn't get into the trial.
Really?
So I'm sure that they'll bring it out in this trial, because the burden of proof is on Karen Reed because she's the plaintiff in the matter. I think she's going to deliver.
I hope so. I'm rooting for her. By falsely representing that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the Alberts' house, and by relocating his body to the location on the Alberts' property where they claimed Miss Reed dropped off Mr. O'Keefe, the Alberts, the McCabe's, and Brian Higgins, caused Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution. Brian Albert and Brian Higgins also caused Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution by destroying or discarding their phones, eliminating exculpatory evidence. The House defendants thereby interfered and attempted to interfere with Miss Reed's rights under the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 14 of the Massachusetts Declaration of Rights.
Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution were intrinsically coercive under Massachusetts law. Moreover, the House defendants and Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully's conduct amounted to threats, intimidation, and coercion designed to force Miss Reed to give up her defense and plead guilty to a crime that she did not commit. As a proximate result of the defendant's actions, Miss Reed was wrongfully prosecuted for Mr. O'Keefe's death, resulting in her loss of employment, reputation, millions in legal fees. So she's looking to get her
Paid.
Yeah, paid. She's entitled to court cost, interest, attorney's fees, the whole nine.
And there's a count 5 also in the lawsuit, and it's called common law malicious prosecution. This is against all the House defendants, Buchanan, Tully, Brian Higgins, all of them, by manufacturing and planting evidence, not securing the crime scene, not searching the Alberts' home or the Alberts and Higgins' phone, and ignoring exculpatory evidence such as Mr. O'Keefe's dog bites and his lack of injuries consistent with a vehicle strike. They caused Miss Reed's indictment, arrest, and prosecution. Miss Reed's indictment, arrest, and prosecution occurred without probable cause because they were based on false, manufactured, manipulated, and planted evidence, and because they ignored exculpatory evidence and allowed potential exculpatory evidence to be destroyed.
These criminal proceedings were instituted with malice, as evident by Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully's knowledge that it was based on false evidence. Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully's bias and ill will towards Miss Reed, and for the improper purpose to protect Proctor's friends and acquaintances, the Alberts.
Do we know if Proctor knew Karen Reed before all this shit went down?
No, I don't think that he knew her. No. I've never heard or seen anything that they knew each other.
So he was just so biased against her because he was trying to...
Those were his friends.
Right.
Those were his buddies.
His homeboys, his
boys in blue.
Brothers in blue.
The criminal proceedings terminated in Miss Reed's favor when she was acquitted of murder, manslaughter, and leaving the scene of an accident with a death. By falsely representing that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the Alberts' house and by relocating his body to the location on the Albert property where Jennifer McCabe would claim Miss Reed dropped off Mr. O'Keefe, Brian and Nicole Albert, the McCabes, and Higgins caused Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution. Brian Albert and Brian Higgins also caused Miss Reed's wrongful indictment, arrest, and prosecution by destroying or discarding their phones and eliminating exculpatory evidence. As a proximate result of the defendant's action, Miss Reed was wrongfully prosecuted for the death of John O'Keefe, which resulted in her loss of employment, cost her millions of dollars, the whole nine.
Yeah, it's basically just repeating what she's wanting the damages for.
But they have to lay it out.
Exactly.
Each.
Count 6 is the intentional infliction of emotional distress against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins. And it's going through the same thing by them planning the taillight pieces, not going in and checking out the house, not securing the whole crime scene, and letting the Alberts and Higgins phones get thrown in the trash and cut up with scissors, SIM card, and thrown in different areas.
On a military base.
Again, not checking out the dog bites and the lack of injuries consistent with a vehicle strike that they, again, caused her indictment and arrest. The defendants knew or should have known their conduct would cause Miss Reed emotional distress since it would lead to her prosecution for murder and other crimes. And the conduct did cause and is causing Miss Reed severe emotional and physical distress. They basically just manipulated the justice system to show the narrative that they wanted to show. And in doing that, they lost a bunch of shit that could have proved who really, killed him and let that person escape liability, and then threatened to put her in jail. Not only were they lying about all this shit, but just they knew they were lying. I wonder if in the back of any of their heads, well, of course, the House defendants and Higgins, they all knew what happened. In the back of Proctor's head, do you think that he really, really, really thought that maybe she did it? So he was putting all this together because he didn't have any evidence?
And he knew he couldn't go back because he done fucked up so much. Do you think that's what happened there? Or do you think maybe he owed Albert a solid for something and he was like, oh, brother, it's time to pay up now?
Yeah, I think the latter of the two that you just said. He probably owed him a freaking cop solid, bro. Remember when I let your cousin off the hook for the chomo shit he did? I'm not saying that happened, but, speculation. Them fucking cops give each other favors and shit all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Tit for tat.
Oh, and his brother, Chris Albert, he actually hit a man while he was drinking and driving and killed him. Yes, like years before this. And I think he only did some probation, maybe 6 months or some shit like that. He wasn't locked up long. And
for him to go against another person, like, you just literally went through that shit. You actually did that shit. And now you're trying to throw this on an innocent person. Another
funny is that Karen Reed had bailed Paul O'Keefe out of jail for DUI before this.
Really? Mm-hmm. Was Paul O'Keefe, was he an officer too?
No, I don't know. I really don't know what he did. But I guess as a lady caught him on Tinder swiping right or left.
Oh, yeah.
And it got posted on Reddit and a whole bunch of shit went weird over it. But anyway.
I wonder if Karen Reed has like a TikTok or something like that where she's actually making money, because she's fucking famous now. I mean, everybody knows who Karen Reed is. Everybody knows who Michael Proctor is and the Alberts are. I mean, they're
going to have they could do like this could be a whole General Hospital or Days of Your Life
sure
type
could.
shit.
It sure could.
There's gonna be a Netflix series.
Oh yeah, Netflix have got to put this shit together. I hope they let the Microdots dude help.
A Boston cop kind of Taylor Sheridan type.
Oh man, he'd do it good.
Yellowstone. Oh, he would do it perfect.
That would be freaking awesome.
So count 7 of this lawsuit is civil conspiracy against Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, the Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins. Now, Proctor, Buchanan, Tully, Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins shared a common design and acted in concert to frame Miss Reed for Mr. O'Keefe's death. As a part of their efforts and among their many other misrepresentations, the Alberts, McCabe's, and Higgins agreed with each other to tell investigators that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the house, that they did not see Mr. O'Keefe in the house that night, and that Miss Reed made inculpatory statements on the morning of January 29th.
And when they made those statements, The House defendants did so only because they were aware that Proctor and Buchanan and Tully would also act similarly by solely investigating Miss Reed. Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully knew or should have known that the statements made to them by the House defendants were false and that obvious and easily obtainable evidence existed demonstrating Mr. O'Keefe went into the house where he was involved in a physical altercation and beat up, hit his head, and got bit by the dog. You know what just popped into my mind? I wanted to say this before.
This sounds so wild.
It does sound wild. But, you know, they show pictures of the Alberts' basement. So these are fucking detectives and cops. I mean, they know how to cover up some shit.
Yeah.
But I can't get over, like, their house was, like, spotless. Mm-hmm. But in the basement, they had a gym and shit. I cannot get over the spilled red paint on the fucking floor.
Oh, is it in the basement
was
too?
it in the garage? Let's look that up real quick because...
Okay, hold on.
I mean, if you were going to hide some blood evidence, would you spill some red paint on it? Like, that's pretty slick, really, because the red paint's going to soak into the pores of the concrete. It's also the right color, you know? So we pulled up the picture, and it looks like it's in the garage because of the one course of block or the poured bottom of that right before you get to the studs. But it's definitely red paint, and it makes you wonder if he went into the garage and, you know what, he could have fell back. Somebody punched him. He could have fell back and hit his head on that concrete lip, and not knowing whether the cops were going to come in there or not. I mean, you know, just dump some fucking red paint on it.
The quickest idea, you look around, what can I do? What can I grab?
Right. It makes you wonder if when they were taking Karen Reed around killing time, they had a fucking blow dryer out there trying to dry the red paint real quick or something. You know me, all kinds of shit runs through my head.
I'm sure the actual scenario of things that has happened has crossed your mind 10 or 20 times. And
it's got to be close to being right, man. I mean...
They couldn't even lie straight in these trials. All their answers are so wild and different. And for people who are professionals in law enforcement, like, whew, I bet they're all on the Brady list. But Albert's not even a cop anymore. I think he retired. But Higgins is, I guess, still working in his job position that he had.
The big ATF man, jelly butt.
I bet he thought he was big shit, too, because he was an ATF agent. That comes with a lot of power.
Well, yeah, he was an ATF, yeah. Wasn't he? Did he work for the FBI as an ATF agent? Or was he just an ATF agent?
The DEA.
The DEA.
Yeah. But what kind of power comes with the DEA ATF agent?
A lot of responsibility. I also thought that it was really freaking weird that a federal agent would have a office in a
Canton
city police department. Yeah. So they were all like good buddies and
they considered
close.
it a satellite office.
Is that what it's called?
I mean, they may do that for smaller communities where they need one in this spot or that spot. I'm sure it's done all over, really.
What was that the cop, Dever, the lady Boston cop who they...
Kelly Dever.
Dever. Oh, she gets pissed off if you say her name wrong, too. Remember when she was on trial?
She doesn't work in the police department anymore either.
That was really wild when the FBI or the other agency, whichever agency, interviewed her first. She said, yeah, Brian Higgins and who was the other? It was the head of the police chief, I think.
Yeah.
Of the Canton Police Department. Name. I noticed that they were in the Sally Port for her exact words were a wildly long time together. And Brian Higgins should not have been anywhere near that car, the evidence of this, because he was freaking there.
And there was 42 minutes of
deleted footage
that they couldn't find. That got deleted. They were rewrote over.
Let's not forget the flip the script shit where they tried
inverted
to invert the image. Yeah.
Alan Jackson caught it, it was like a Matlock moment. I swear.
That's
And
great.
he's seen police on the police cart, and it was spelled backwards in this picture. And he was like, why the hell is this spelled backwards? Not picture, it was a video.
Right.
And what they had done is before they presented it to them in Discovery or whatever, they inverted that video so it looked like Proctor and whoever else was out there wasn't at the side of where the damage was on her car.
Where they busted her tail light. That's what they were fucking hiding.
That's what they were. I bet you that's what they were doing. In my opinion, that's what they were doing.
Alan Jackson's slick, dude. He's fucking slick. I think Melanie Little has a thing for Alan Jackson. I'm just gonna say it right here on the podcast.
Her eyes just light up. Oh, Alan, don't talk to him that way. I think she said that on one of her episodes. It was cute.
Oh, yeah.
In furtherance of this conspiracy, Proctor, Tully, and Buchanan agreed to fabricate, plant, and manipulate evidence purporting to show that Miss Reed's vehicle hit Mr. O'Keefe. Pursuant to their plan, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully carried out multiple overt acts, including damaging the taillight on Miss Reed's vehicle while it was in the town of Canton's Sallyport, not securing the crime scene, and depositing taillight pieces on January 29th prior to the MSP CERT team's arrival on site. In addition, Proctor deposited some of the broken taillight pieces on Mr. O'Keefe's clothing while the clothing was in his unprotected custody. Proctor also deposited glass alleged to have been from a cocktail glass on the bumper of Miss Reed's Lexus SUV sometime prior to the vehicle's processing by MSP CI on February 1st. Another part of the conspiracy was to take coordinated steps to ignore and destroy potentially exculpatory evidence that pointed to other suspects like the Alberts and Higgins. The McCabe's and Alberts and Higgins coordinated through text messages, phone calls. So finally, Proctor coordinated with the Alberts and McCabe's through his sister, Courtney, who spoke frequently with Julie Albert, and that was actually her best friend. So, acting pursuant to the plan, Proctor and Buchanan interviewed the McCabe's and Brian Albert in a friendly manner, the morning of January 29th and Nicole Albert on February 3rd, and told the same false story that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the Alberts' house. Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully also only interviewed Higgins once with his attorney and at the attorney's home, and he did not secure or search Higgins' phone or search for communications between him, the Alberts, or McCabe's. Now, pursuant to the coordinated plan, Proctor, Buchanan, and Tully also did not search the Alberts' phone or home where there was likely evidence of John O'Keefe's murder. Further, Brian Albert and Higgins destroyed their phones, destroying evidence of the murder and cover-up.
Following Mr. O'Keefe's death, among other acts, the McCabe's and Alberts agreed to make it look like Mr. O'Keefe died due to exposure after being hit by Miss Reed's car. As a part of this common plan, Brian Albert and Higgins, both law enforcement officers familiar with investigations, communicated at 2:20 a.m. on the 29th of January after Higgins left the house. Shortly thereafter, as part of the plan, Jennifer McCabe deleted a Google search at 2:27 a.m. on January 29th for how long does it take a person to die in the cold. One or more of them relocated Mr. O'Keefe's body and deposited it in front of the Alberts' house where Jennifer McCabe claimed Miss Reed had dropped Mr. O'Keefe off earlier. The McCabe's and Alberts then coordinated what they would say to police, all of them falsely telling investigators that Mr. O'Keefe never entered the house.
So this is getting summed up now, and she is requesting a jury demand. Miss Reed respectfully requests a jury trial on all the matters so tribal. That's her prayer for relief. Ms. Reed respectfully requests that the court grant her the following relief. Enter a judgment in her favor and against each relevant defendant on each count of this complaint. Award her damages in an amount to be calculated at trial, along with pre- and post-judgment interest, cost, and expenses. Award her reasonable attorney's fees incurred in connection with this litigation pursuant to U.S. or 42 U.S.C. and any other applicable statute or law. Grant her such relief as the court deems equitable and just. That's a lot.
Let's take a guess on how much they're going to say that they fucking owe her. I'm going to say it's going to be upwards of 20 million bucks. What do you think?
Well, first my mind goes to, okay, so they sue all these people in their individual capacity.
I mean, are they?
What are their? I mean,
you think they're
really?
gonna?
How much is each one of them worth, and that could pay? You know,
Right?
Like, how's she gonna?
They're not gonna make them all pay the same amount. They're probably going to come up with the amount, and then if they're all found liable, then they're going to split that number up between them. So there's 2, 4, 6, 8. There's 9, 10 defendants.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 10 million, they're going to be on the hook for $1 million apiece. If it's 20 million, 2 million apiece. I mean, give or take.
Right.
I don't know, man.
They've moved this. So the House defendants and their law team have requested that this be moved to federal court. And it is on the docket in federal court. Last I looked, there was a couple of appearances for Karen Reed from 2 of her attorneys, I believe. And so it's being moved to federal court. I don't know if they'll have a trial or a pretrial, disputing if they want it in federal court or does it belong in state court? Because at a federal court, the trial is not televised. So I could see why the House defendants wanted to get it moved to federal court, because if they go to trial, it can't be televised.
Man, that would be a travesty.
Wouldn't it?
I want to fucking watch this shit so bad.
I think you can listen to it by audio while it's
if it's a
going
federal
on.
court case.
Maybe, yeah, because sometimes in the Supreme Court, you can hear audio of the trial going on.
I hope they don't drag this shit out for like 100 years or whatever. Like, let's get in there and get the tea going and get
the
her
trial
paid.
started. Can you imagine the discovery process?
Oh
in
my
this?
goodness. Nosy people make good investigators and podcasters.
Well, she's going to go into everything. She's going to request any document she has is going to against each of the defendants. I bet you she knows these people and who they know, who they're connected with professionally, personally. I mean, it's just like a spider web.
Didn't you tell me the other day that she had the carpet removed out of the Alberts home on 34 Fairview?
Yes.
I wonder where that's went.
Well, after they sold their house, they didn't really disclose to the new owner that exactly what the whole house was involved in. And I heard that they were kind of mad about it. So Reed's private investigator went and talked with the homeowner, and she was like, yeah, sure. Whatever, come in, look, whatever you need, photos, gave them all access to the house. And they got the carpet and they got some other evidence too.
Dying
but
to know
you know
what
it's
they
got
got.
to be good. This is what Karen Reed, the stuff that's laid out here, these are just her accusations. In reality, it don't mean shit until she can prove it.
Right.
She's got to prove it. But in a civil case, it's the burden of proof is a lot less, It's only got to be, I think you explained it to me, 51%
Right.
rather than it's got to
Beyond a
be more
reasonable
than
doubt.
likely possible than not.
Whereas a criminal trial, it has to be beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right.
This just has to be 51% of the. That's interesting. I would like to do an episode on Turtle Boy and that crazy chick that he was screwing
we
around
got to
with.
get into that because
That was deep. That was freaking deep.
So we all know Turtle Boy and how he has brought a lot of light to the whole Karen Reed case. He started reporting on it and covering it, and it just grew into this big movement. And he even got in trouble for some charges like witness intimidation and things of that nature. I really don't know a whole lot about it, but
We'll find out and tell you, though.
yeah, but just from what I've seen so far with this episode with a girl who was a plant on him, kind of.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
like, yeah,
Definitely.
She inserted herself in his life to manipulate him and control him, or to find out the scoop and whatever he was doing.
We'll get into more of it, but she had 2 accounts. On one account, or like different profiles.
Yeah.
One account she was all for Turtle Boy, and the other one she was like,
You
"Fry
piece of
Karen
shit."
Reed." Yeah. Anyway, we're glad we could bring that to you. We find it interesting. We hope you do too. Until we talk to you next time, have a good day.
Good evening.